Hi, you're listening to This Is Not Your Practice Life. I'm your host, Macie Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friends. I'm a certified life and emotional intelligence coach. And if you really want to step into your highest self, there are a few non-negotiables you're going to have to learn, and I am just the person to help you do it. No matter your past, I'm here to help you create a more fulfilling future. So stick around with me. Not only will I teach you how to navigate your brain's daily mind drama, but I'll help you actually understand your mind, your emotions, why you do the things you do, and why others do the things they do. Most importantly, I'll help you build the self-awareness skills to create whatever results you want. It's never too late to change the trajectory of your life. After all, this is not your practice life. Good morning, friends. Welcome back to another episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. I'm Macie, and I am so excited to welcome you back this week. We are continuing part 2 of my Tell All series, Entrepreneurial Coach Edition, where my audience on Instagram submitted anonymous questions for me, and I am telling it all. I am answering all the questions that were asked. I had so much fun recording the previous episode, and I cannot wait to give you my answers for this one. So hopefully you enjoyed this, but thank you so much to all of you that submitted questions. And I will just tell you, if you're brand new here, just know my episodes don't typically run this way. Normally I'm teaching concepts or, coaching on something that comes up a lot for clients, or people will request certain topics that maybe they don't know how to navigate. And so this is a very oddball episode, but I hope that you like it. However, if it's not your style, make sure you go check out the rest of the podcast before judging it, because not all of the episodes go this way, okay? So thank you for being here, and let's get started on me answering some more questions for you guys. All right, are you ready for a juicy question? Have you ever had a client you didn't enjoy working with? And if you have, what do you do about that? Okay, so here is my honest answer, truthfully. I have never had a client that I have not enjoyed working with. Like, there's never been a time in 6 years. I've been coaching for 6 years. I have coached easily hundreds of clients between coaching my own in the last 6 years, and I have been a contract coach for my coach. My coach hired me on in her company about 2 years ago, and I did that consistently for about a year and a half, and I was coaching all of her clients. In my 6 years, I've never seen a name on my calendar and been like, "Glah." I've never had that reaction. I am very much a people person in that I do really love people, and I love people who are making every attempt and effort in their life to improve themselves. So if there's ever a time where I'm having a reaction with a human being, it's probably because they are very unaware and they refuse to work on themselves in whatever capacity. Those are the humans that make me go like, ugh, okay? Now, I have had situations where I've had clients who I think thought they were ready for coaching and then weren't ready for coaching, in which case it has been a challenge for me on some calls in directing and guiding and asking really good questions, because they appear to be very resistant to actually changing. Like, their brain just fights so hard to remain the same, and it almost comes off as this defiant, matter-of-fact, toddler level behavior, which is not problematic. But when I've had clients where it continues to go on and on and on, and they're like, I don't know why I'm not experiencing changes. And it's like 6 months. And then, maybe they even renew, and now we're at a year and they're still in that mentality. There comes a point where my little coach brain that is rooting for all of my people, where I will start to feel drained. That is an honest answer. And I've had that experience very few times in 6 years, like maybe 3 in 6 years, which I actually feel is really fantastic to only ever have 3 people bring me up to the point where it's like, there comes a point where when people are really, truly not ready, there is no amount of money that they could try to throw your way where you want to continue having to drag someone along. So it's like in their spirit, they want it. They want the change. But on a surface level in the now, they're not ready to make changes. And they often think if I just stay in coaching or if I keep investing, I'm going to get out of this funk. And they don't realize that they are the person creating the funk and creating themselves in a place where they're staying stuck. And although it hasn't been often that I've seen clients get stuck in those ruts, when it does happen, I have had to have a few conversations where I'm like, I will not allow you to pay me any more money. Like, I will not allow it. I don't want your money. That's not what this is about. That's not why I do what I do. You know, it obviously keeps a roof over our head and helps me pay bills and, you know, allows me to do certain things that I want to do, but I'm definitely not rolling in the dough at this time anyways. But I don't want anybody's money who doesn't want to change their life. I don't want a client that I feel that I am having to literally drag them as they're kicking and screaming, metaphorically, right? It would be like dragging a toddler through the store where they're like, but I want to go to the candy store. And you're taking them to the candy store, but their body is not cooperating with going to the candy store. Okay. So imagine that you have a 3 or 4-year-old and they're literally like, but I want the candy and I want you to take me to the candy store, please. And you're pulling them and you're like, we're going to the candy store. And at the same time, they're kicking and screaming and like trying to punch you and hit you. You know what I mean? You're like, why are you fighting this hard? Like, this is where we're going. And they're like, I know, I want to go. But everything in their body and their behavior is saying, I don't want to go. So it's conflicting. And in the few times where I've had clients like that, there's just no amount of money you could literally throw my way. It's mentally and emotionally exhausting, and I truly want to see my clients win. So if you're fighting me on even winning for yourself, it's a no for now. You know what I mean? It's you need time and you need to get yourself mentally ready. Coaching is not for everybody, and that is why, I should rephrase that. I feel like coaching is for everybody. I feel like people hit their day of disgust or their day where they're ready to draw their line in the sand at different times in their life, where it's like, I'm all in. And those are the clients that I really love to work with and to help, right? And they're not always that enthusiastic, because I mean, a lot of times when someone comes to you and they're in a funk and their life is really not where they want it to be, there's usually a lack of optimism. They don't really know that it's going to change, but they know they have to make the effort. And I am all for those clients as well. What I really truly mean are the maybe 3 clients that I've had in 6 years where they are literally like that toddler at the candy store, and you're trying your best to guide them exactly where they're telling you they want to go, but they're fighting you to get there. And, whenever I see that in a consult, or I even feel that as a possibility, it's just a very powerful boundary of mine where I will lovingly tell someone they are not ready. Not at this time. It doesn't mean no forever, but at this time, it doesn't serve them nor me to, I just have no desire to be the entrepreneur that takes someone's money knowing someone is not ready. That's not the kind of person that I am. I don't want your money if you're not ready, truly, because it just becomes mental and emotional work for me, and more so than it is even helping people who want it, which does take a lot of mental and emotional energy as well. And so I don't want to help people who don't fully want it. I will help people who are throwing, temper tantrums every now and then and it's so hard. That's normal, and I expect that. And I'm like, I know it is hard, but you're showing up for yourself and I'm proud of you. Those people I will help all day long, and that's majority of my clients, right? They're sometimes complaining that it's hard, but they're still showing up to their calls and they're doing everything, and you can see the changes, as opposed to people who say that they want it and they don't. And I've had a few clients that say that they want it and they pay for coaching, and then they go into witness freaking protection. I've had that happen maybe twice. And I'm like, where did they go? And why don't they want to finish calls that they've paid for? And I don't know the reasons, but I always believe if someone leaves, there's an energetic reason. And and it's another reason I don't chase people in DMs. You're never going to see me as the coach that's like DMing you like, hey, do you want to work with me? Hey, do you want to coach with me? I'm never going to do that, because I really believe if someone wants coaching, they are reaching out to me. They're getting on my website, they're scheduling a consult, or they're in my DMs asking me questions about how we can, work together. But most often it's always a consult. And that's where I put my energy in people who are truly ready, because coaching is no freaking joke. If you've never had coaching, I'm just going to say it louder for the people in the back. Coaching is no freaking joke. And so I really do stand on business that you need to be ready mentally, emotionally, financially, whatever it is. You need to be ready on all fronts. And if you are, your whole life is going to change and you're going to be so happy you did it. But if you are already going into it with the coach has to change my life, I'm not going to do the work and I'm going to be kicking and screaming the whole time, just don't. Just please don't, because it just doesn't serve you. I will just tell you, save your money if you're going to be in that mentality. Just don't spend it if you're not willing to do the work. All right, sorry that was such a long answer, but it's the truth. So when you first started out coaching, what steps did you take? Do you feel someone should have a psychology background before coaching? So I have a little bit of maybe a different perspective on this, but when I first started out coaching, when in the question it says, what steps did you take? I literally announced on Facebook that I was going to be a coach. But I say that in the sense of I didn't have insecurity around saying that because of the background that I came from in my college career. So as an occupational therapist, a lot of people don't know what occupational therapists do. It's a running joke within our industry. People hear physical therapist or PT and know immediately what they do. People hear speech therapist or SLP and know immediately what they do. People hear OT and oftentimes have no idea what an occupational therapist does unless they've experienced it hands-on or have had a family member or someone they love experience occupational therapy. But occupational therapy, the reason I went into the career is because it is so diversified in that when you get the education, you can work in just about any industry, because occupational therapy is helping people thrive, not only on a physical level, but mentally, emotionally, daily living skills, everything, okay? It includes the whole person. It really, for me, considering I love holistic and seeing humans as a whole, occupational therapy school before I ever knew about coaching just made perfect sense for me. So that being said, it's unique in that my degree I have a bachelor's degree in health science and I have a master of science in occupational therapy, okay? And in occupational therapy school, and even the prerequisites to get into occupational therapy school, you have psychology background, you have, mental and emotional health training, you have all of the things, anatomy, physiology, you have to take neuroscience and understand the brain. Like, you have to have that full exposure, because there are occupational therapists that work in the school system. There are occupational therapists that work in adult day centers. They work in nursing homes. They work in hospitals. They work in jails and halfway houses. They work in behavioral health. So we have to have some behavioral health background. Occupational therapists work in a multitude of industries. I worked as an early interventionist for birth to age 3. So one of the other reasons I got into it is because I knew if I stayed in it for 40 years, I could at any point switch from working with babies and toddlers to working in a prison, right? Or to going into a mental health facility. So I loved the way that I could go different directions within the occupational therapy career. So that being said, when I decided that I was going to be a coach, I felt very confident in my skills, and I simply announced on social media that I was going to do coaching. And here's the thing that you may not know about the coaching industry is that it's not a regulated industry, which is both amazing and terrible, and I will tell you why. It's amazing in that we don't have a governing body that has placed a gajillion rules. So one of the reasons I got out of occupational therapy as a career is because my hands were tied in so many ways. There were so many families where I wish I could spill the beans on why their kid was experiencing some of the things they were experiencing and not lose my license. In 6 years of doing what I did as an occupational therapist and working with a lot of kids with autism and certain behaviors that would get worse and worse, and being able to ask the parents questions and gather a lot of information, you start to see patterns, you start to see things that are going on, and then you're in this healthcare industry that is so governed politically and financially that it's really hard to really lean into your morals and ethics when the governing bodies are very corrupt. That's all I'm going to say. I won't make this episode political, but it was exhausting to feel like, God, there's so many ways that I could help these families if I could just educate them and not be afraid that if they took it wrong, I will lose everything I worked for, my license included, okay? So that was really, really hard. And, speech therapists have a governing body, physical therapists have a governing body, dentists, doctors, teachers have a governing body, right? Most careers have a governing body that tell you what you are allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And I think anybody in any of the industries that I've named probably has a few issues with the governing body. So the fact that coaching is an unregulated industry and that it doesn't have a governing body is wonderful, because it really means you can create some amazing intellectual property. You can help people in really amazing ways. You don't have someone saying, hey, you're going to go into this career and you can only make $20 an hour, which a lot of times with a governing body, they cap and ceiling your income to a certain level, right? Whenever you see salary ranges, a lot of that is because of how it's all governed within that body, that individual body, okay? Like speech therapists get to make this amount, surgeons get to make this amount, okay? There's rules and guidelines. The coaching industry has none of that. So even if you get certified, the certification means nothing really, okay? I will explain more about this later, but there's no rule saying that you have to be certified in order to coach, which is what makes it so wonderful if you decide you want to do it, because there's not an official governing body. However, the caveat to this that is very challenging and what will maybe one day cause the coaching industry to become regulated is the fact that there are people who can have ill intent, whether it's conscious or subconscious. There are people who are going out there and calling themselves coaches and have no health background, no psychology, no education. And that's really like the therapist that also have a governing body. The therapists that have problems with the coaching industry, this is why. Because there are money-hungry, money-driven people who think that the coaching industry is going to be their ticket to hundreds or millions of dollars, and that they can just make up any rules that they want, and therefore, basically, whether they intend to or not, there is the potential for people to cause harm to other people if they are not educated. So, that is why the coaching industry has a bad rep, because it's not regulated and because there are people who do get hurt by hiring people who they think have a really great intent and then end up doing damage because they're money hungry, or they're not educated, or they don't have any background. They literally just posted one day they wanted to be a coach. They opened themselves up for business and they have no freaking business being a coach. There are people like that, okay? It's no different than a doctor in malpractice or a pharmacist who is just writing any script off on the side. So there are definitely people who can do harm. So with that being said, do you feel someone should have a psychology background before coaching? I do feel the more education that you have, the better. Not because you have to have it to be a coach, but because if you're going to be a coach, I really believe you should absolutely want to make sure you're never doing anybody harm, right? That you're trauma informed. Like I have, even as an OT, I have to do suicidal training. I have to be able to spot the signs. I have to be trauma informed. And like I said, I do feel like I had the upper hand when I started my coaching business, because even as an occupational therapist, I worked with so many diverse families, cultures, people, beliefs in their homes, in a place where they feel the most secure and comfortable, which means that I see the most real, raw versions of people. You know, you're kind of different when you're interacting with people in like maybe a nursing home or a hospital, because it's typically a few days or a few weeks, and you don't get to know all the dynamics the same way as when you're literally in someone's most sacred place, their home. So I had to learn how to navigate a lot, being that I was an occupational therapist for the home and would see different dynamics that maybe people didn't always want me to see or to pick up on, but I did. It was just the nature of the job. And all of that to say that I do feel the more you educate yourself, the less harm you're likely to do on your clients. And that should be a huge priority to you. So that is always at the forefront of my mind when I am coaching, is to make sure that in all of my containers, meaning all of my programs, the Equip Society, the hybrid experience, any retreats I do, anywhere where I am gathering women, I am very meticulous, because my number one thing is safety, mentally, emotionally, physically, everything. I want to make sure that the women that are coming into my communities are safe. That's actually one of the reasons I created a yearly retreat, because I found that women that are in some of my other programs, they're growing closer. They want to be able to see each other a good amount, but I can't protect anybody if they go off and do their own things on the side. And because you have people getting together who all have different triggers and deeper things that they're working through, it is really truly something where I'm going to be very protective of the people that are in my audience, because I have been trained to look for behaviors, body language, tonality and voices, signs, things like that. And my goal is always to catch it and coach it and teach those emotional intelligence skills that really, really matter. So do I think that people should be very mindful of that if they're going to start a coaching practice? 1000% yes. All right, next question. Are you continuously healing every day as you're coaching other people? I guess I'm feeling like I have to have my shit together before helping others. So healing is a never-ending journey, in my opinion. There's not really a finish line. So when it comes to you opening up the doors for your own coaching business, that is about doing it when you're ready, and you might not ever feel ready. A lot of times you only need to be several steps ahead of the clients and that you're going to be guiding. And really, as a coach, you don't have to have all the answers. You're not supposed to be the guru in the sense that you have all the answers for someone's life. You're not a genie in a bottle. You know what I mean? That's not what we do as coaches. Being a good coach is helping someone dive deeper into their own mind, their own emotions, their own behaviors that are being driven by those emotions, and changing the things that are not working, which is very much an inside job. So a really good coach asks really good questions. They make a client work in their mind really, really well, so that the client can see why they're doing what they're doing, and if they like it and want to keep it, or if they want to change it. So the answer is yes, I'm always healing. I'm always working on myself. I recently got back into therapy to address triggers that come up for me in even motherhood. Like, I'm at a stage where, as I'm recording this in a few days, I will turn 33 years old. I'm obviously at an age where I really need to get more serious about parenthood, and if motherhood is in my cards, and if that's something that I really want. But what I was noticing was a bunch of triggers around the thought of becoming a mother for a multitude of reasons, a blend of childhood things, a blend of not being where I want to be in my business, believing that I need to be even more financially stable, just all of the things. And I could see where I was going to self-destruct, like truly self-destruct, in the sense of like, I'm 33, it feels like a lot of pressure, but I also don't want to make the decision from pressure. And so I need to like work on this, right? So on a personal level, I have gotten back into therapy. And then on a business level, I'm always involved in like coaching communities and groups and consuming to a certain level to make sure that I'm sharp as well for myself and for my clients. So you do not have to have it all figured out, because life is going to life and you're human, and there's always going to be something you can work on. I've been in the personal development world for 10 years. And I have been coached as a client in some form or capacity for 8 of those years. And I have just recently gotten into therapy again in the last year. So you could look at it like, okay, well, she's with a therapist or she's constantly getting coached. Maybe she doesn't have her shit together. No, I feel like for the most part, I'm doing well, but I also never want to stop doing my own work, because I never want to be the person that also feels like I'm preaching at my clients to do something that I'm not doing. I always have the mentality of I go first, I lead first. I don't ever ask my clients to do something I'm not willing to do myself. So it's important for me to make sure that, yes, I am always a work in progress and I am always continuing to do the work on myself, because that's also what my clients are doing to get to the levels they want to get at. So I would just say you don't have to have everything together in order to get started, but make sure that you're making your inner work a priority, whether that's therapy, coaching, personal, business, whatever it is. You want to make sure that you are leading by example, especially if you're going to expect that your clients are doing similar work themselves. You don't want to ever be preaching and not doing your own work. Okay, next question is, how do you come up with homework for your clients? So I really don't give a lot of homework for my clients. If a client is in one-on-one coaching, it's a 50-50 shot on if they want homework or not. Usually, to be completely honest, as an emotional intelligence coach, this may be different based on, if you're in another type of coaching. As an emotional intelligence coach, your homework is to be implementing all of the skills and the strategies and what you are learning in your coaching sessions outside in the real world, which means that you're living life and you're observing what you feel in your body. You're observing how you're triggered by things or emotionally activated by things. You're noticing your thoughts. You're observing more of your behavior. You're practicing active self-awareness skills. Yes, I could give you worksheets, and sometimes I will if my clients are adamant that they need some kind of homework. But as an emotional intelligence coach, I'm like, you should be living your homework. You know what I mean? Your homework is to take what you have learned from this coaching call and go apply it in real life. And if something doesn't work, or you notice something that still doesn't feel like it's for your best self, come back on the next coaching call and let's dig in from that level. So I don't give a lot of homework to my clients in one-on-one. Homework in the Equip Society, for instance, would be make sure you're watching the modules, because that's a self-paced program. So, ideally they should be logging in, watching modules so that they can figure out what's working well for them and what's not, and what they want to come on Monday to get coaching on. And their homework is to show up for coaching, because we do coaching once a week. And so show up and ask for coaching so that you're doing what you signed up to do. Like, be accountable and show up and do what you said you were going to do. That's your homework. And then in the hybrid experience, that is advanced level EQ work. That is like, you're ready to go balls to the wall and really work on yourself. Hold yourself to an accountable level that maybe you've never been held at before. Dig the deepest that you've maybe ever dug, in your life, and get super clear on where you're trying to go and all the skills you need to get there. And so for the hybrid experience, because it is next level, intense and advanced, they have a workbook, and there's plenty of homework that they can be doing in that workbook in and out of coaching. So that's a little bit about how I set it up. But there are no rules in the coaching industry because it is totally up to you. Again, it's unregulated, so there's no governing body saying you have to create worksheets, you have to give them homework, you can only charge $20 an hour, or you have to do it this way. You as an entrepreneur in the coaching industry are really creating the rules as you go, and it's based on a lot of times your values and your thoughts and your own emotional experiences and what you value and want your clients to learn. So if you decide to do that, that's up to you. You might have clients who love homework and want it and decide to give it to all of them. You might have some clients who hate it and decide it's not necessary. And you might be like me, where it kind of depends on the situation. All right, we're almost done. We're down to the last few questions. If you had to suggest a life coaching program today, which one would you suggest? So, being everything that I spilled earlier about coaching being an unregulated industry, it means that any life coaching program you take is because you want to take it. It is literally not required. You do not have to take any coaching program. If you wanted to start your business today without a certificate, without any of that, you absolutely could. So when people ask me this question, my answer is take the life coaching program or certification for the coach you really admire who offers one, whose intellectual property you want to be able to teach your clients with an integrity. Okay. So basically, a life coaching program is nothing more than someone who has created a niche or an expertise in some sort of methodology or training or teaching. And they now technically have a quote unquote certification, in which case you can learn their method. And then legally, you can use that modality honoring their intellectual property. Okay, so for instance, I got a certification at the life coach school. I think the school, to be honest, is closing up, maybe temporarily, maybe forever. I'm not sure. She's been in business 20 years. She created what's called the model. It's abbreviated CTFAR. It's something I teach my clients. And that's really what the life coach school certification was all about, was learning how to use CTFAR, aka the model, do it well, know how to do it absolutely properly based on how she came up with it, and to go off in the world and have it as a tool to use for your clients and be able to legally do it because it is her intellectual property. There are so many other coach organizations and schools and certifications, again, in the actual industry, they mean really nothing. Anybody can say that they have a certification for you to take, but on a legal level, it doesn't really matter whether you have it or not because we're an unregulated industry. That being said, my suggestion is if someone's work you really admire has one, to go do their certification so that you can legally honor their intellectual property and have permission to use it, to teach it, to provide it as a tool for someone else. Now, in the corporate world, in the corporate coaching world, even though coaching is an unregulated industry, there are a lot of companies that want to bring in coaches for their management team, their staff, leadership, employees, things like that. And they require that most coaches are what is called ICF certified. So ICF is a certification that believes that if the coaching industry ever becomes regulated, that they will be the industry standard and the governing body. So I can't remember, I think it's called International Coach Federation, ICF. And because they believe that they truly will be the governing body, it's grown into this very big thing where many coaches, like for instance, if I ever decided I would train people in emotional intelligence certifications, I could go through the ICF certification to become an ICF certified coach. And then I could also make sure my program goes through all of the requirements to technically be stamped with the ICF approval. And then if corporate ever said, Macie, we want to have you as a coach in our company or to speak to our employees once a month, but we need you to be ICF certified, then technically I would be good to go. So while you don't need it, if you are ever thinking you might be a corporate level coach, someone that wants to do contracts with corporate, maybe look into being ICF certified and learning what they can teach you. I think there are a lot of amazing programs out there, and it really just depends on who you want to learn from and what you want to learn. All right, second to last question. What do you think has helped you grow your podcast best/most? Consistency. I have been doing my podcast since 2019. I think August 2019 was my very first episode. And up until recently, I was very, very consistent every single week. There might be 1 or 2 times a year where I fall 2 weeks behind. But what you will find normally is I will record a bunch of episodes to catch up. Like, I don't usually let it slip and not produce an episode. It might be that I get a week or 2 behind, but I try to record, as many episodes to catch myself up to where you have a good 48 to 52 podcasts a year. And I do believe that that is what has helped my podcast grow, is the consistency of people knowing they always have an episode to come to each week. And then, in addition, recently, probably in the last year, I have tried boosting the podcast on Instagram. And I think that that has maybe helped some cold leads that didn't know me before click and maybe uncover the podcast. But I do think consistency has helped me build it most. I've never really ran traditional ads to it. And I'm just going to be honest that I have a lot of clients that found me because of the podcast, but I'm a little weirded out at how they found me. It feels kind of spiritual and almost like they were just meant to hear it when they needed to hear it, and they were meant to be in my life and I was meant to be in theirs in some capacity, because I have had a lot of people tell me that my podcast randomly came on when they were listening to other people's podcasts. I have had some clients and consults tell me that they first heard the podcast on platforms that I didn't even know my podcast was on. I have had people tell me that they saw pop-up ads where I do not pay for ads. So I don't know what's going on, but I have really gotten a kick out of hearing how different people have found me, because I'm like, oh, well, that sounds a little impossible. But nothing is impossible whenever it's, someone is ready. It's kind of like the quote, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And that feels like what has happened with my podcast. Because I swear to you, I have clients and they're like, yeah, I was listening to a whole different podcast. And then all of a sudden I heard your voice and I thought you were a commercial. And then you said something profound. And then I was like, wait, what happened? Where did my other podcast go? But it was you. And then I listened to several episodes and then I signed up on a consult and now here we are, and it's, I can't even tell you the amount of people who have said that to me and how many clients I have that it happened that way. So I don't know what's happening, but I'm just trusting the whole process and having faith that I really do meet the clients that are meant to be in my life. And I am obsessed with my clients. Like, I really feel sad whenever any of them feel graduated or done. I'm proud of them if they feel that way, but I grieve it because I really do feel blessed in that I feel like I've had the best clients ever. And when they all meet each other in person and they form friendships, it feels so warm and cozy and wonderful. And so I love the community I've created. I think it's a very loving, safe place to work on really, really hard things and yet feel like you have a lot of support. And it's also why I'm a little bit psychotic about making sure that I am organizing events where I get to be present, so that way I can make sure that it continues to be so. All right, we're at the end, the last question, okay? When you got into coaching, how did you price your clients? For instance, what's too little and what's too much? How much time do you dedicate to your clients weekly? So typically my clients, my one-on-one clients, get an hour of my time every week. If they do a one-on-one coaching package, they're either doing 12, which is 3 months, or 24, which is 6 months. As far as the time that they get from me, it's an hour a week on Zoom. I do all of my sessions technically face to face because I'm very attentive. I want to see body language. I want to be able to read what's going on in your face because sometimes my clients will say one thing and their body language will say something else. And that's really important to address as a coach as to why. So that is how one-on-one coaching works. And then in my group programs, obviously they're getting an hour of my time as well, but it's shared among the community. So it's basically like first come, first serve, who's raising their hand, who's actively asking for the coaching. That's who I spend my time on. And I spend as much time as we need to get through the coaching that they need. So sometimes people will have requests that take 5 minutes. Sometimes in a group coaching program, they might have a request that takes 25 minutes. And the women are very much trained to hold space and to be respectful of their peers being coached. And also if they have anything of value to add, that they are welcome oftentimes to do that. So that's kind of how that works. As far as pricing clients, again, in an unregulated industry, there's no right or wrong. There are people who get away with charging cray amounts, I think. But, in the business industry, it's not taboo. But the answer to this is you get to charge whatever you want. Don't ever set your prices based on hearing someone tell you, quote unquote, charge your worth. And the reason for that is because you are infinitely worthy. There's literally no amount of money that you can charge that matches your worth as a human, as a person, as a coach, as an entrepreneur, okay? If we were to charge our worth, most people wouldn't be able to afford us. And I'm speaking to everybody, not just coaches or literally, we are all infinitely worthy. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. So I hate when I hear in the industry, charge your worth. No, just what do you feel confident in charging that feels like a no-brainer for all of the value that you're offering your clients? That's honestly how I would tell you to choose your pricing. And that's going to be a different answer for every single person. I will tell you something right out of the gate. It doesn't matter the price, okay? For instance, what I mean by that is if you start your business and you charge $40 for an hour call, or $100 for an hour call, or $500 for an hour call, or $5,000 for an hour call, there is always someone in the world who's going to pay the price. It's just the truth. It's the facts. It's never, ever the price. It's more so about how much you're showing up, the value that you're bringing to the table, what you're delivering to the client, the results that you're helping the client get, and you get to choose what price tag that you put on that. It should be, in my opinion, something that feels good to you, to where you don't feel resentful to the client, like you're giving so much away that now you're angry at them. I have had that happen. That's when I've known in the past, okay, it's time to raise my prices. When I started my business, I think I was charging $150 a month as a brand new coach. And I did that for the first year of my business. And, they could get a year worth of coaching that broke down to $150 a month. And there eventually became a point in time where I got resentful, and I was just like, I don't want to do it. This is so much energy for me. It's very mental. It's very emotional. I'm helping people get results, and I want to just feel like I can keep food on the table and a roof over my head. And so there was a point in time where, as I started cutting back on OT clients, charging $150 a month for clients didn't make sense. That being said, also, I have not raised my prices in over 3 years. And that's just been a personal choice, because you will also attract different clients at different price points. And I really enjoy the audience that is attracted to my current price point. I feel like the price that I am at personally is something that makes people show up more serious, like because maybe it's more money than they've ever invested on their own growth, but not so much that they're living in scarcity and like afraid, or where they're like, oh my God, now I can't pay for stuff my kid needs. Like, I think I have personally hit that sweet spot, and I'm not going to share what that amount is because it's going to be different for every single entrepreneur. And it's something that you kind of have to play around with. But there's been multiple times where what I offer for the price that I'm charging, I've had colleagues say, you're not charging enough. Like for the hybrid experience, multiple colleagues told me that should be a $15,000 offer. You're giving them your one-on-one time, you're giving them group time, you're giving them a 4-night luxury retreat in a luxury space with amenities and all of these things. Not only that, but it's coaching for 6 months. They get a huge workbook with it. And if they were to buy each offer separate for one-on-one, group, and a retreat, they'd be paying close to $10,000. Yet this is all wrapped up in one. That's a $15,000 offer. At bare minimum, it should be $10,000. I charge my clients $6,500 for that, okay? So I give them a lot of bang for their buck. The Equip Society is a $3,000 program, but they have lifetime access to it. So when they invest in that program, they never have to pay anything more to stay in it. It's not a monthly membership. They don't have to renew it every year. They literally pay $3,000 and they're done. And they know that they have a coaching home to come to forever. I coach in there every week. I've been coaching every week since 2022. We recently just got approval for, I say we, but me, because I'm a one-person show, approval for trademarking, which was a huge piece of keeping that program open and making sure I'm protecting my intellectual property. So I'm thrilled to say my trademark went through. I haven't announced that yet, which means that now I don't have to worry ever about having to close that program because someone has come in and stole my intellectual property or my name or whatever. So that's a place they can always go, and I love the price point of that. Not everybody is like maybe wanting to spend $3,000 on themselves, but when you break it down, if you're an active participant, the longer that you're participating in there, you're not paying a lot for the coaching attention that you get. And then one-on-one coaching, I won't go into those prices because I require a consult for that, but they're still very manageable. I stay pretty full with one-on-one clients, even at the price point that I'm at, and I haven't changed or raised my prices in 3 years because I like the clientele that it attracts. I enjoy the people that I work with at that price point, and it feels good to me. I don't feel resentful, like I'm doing a lot of work and not getting paid enough, or I don't feel like it's a struggle to keep a roof over my head or food on the table. And I feel like I give them a lot and they're able to grow and transform. So that is going to be unique to you. And there is no wrong price. You're just going to attract different people at different price points. And you're going to have to learn what feels good to you as far as how much energy and value you're putting into your offers. And do you feel like you're getting the energetic and financial return that you want to be at based on whatever standards you're trying to uphold in your own daily life? You know what I mean? Make sure you can feed yourself, making sure your bills can be taken care of, making sure you're not overexerting yourself and feeling like you're getting paid, pennies to do so, to where you kind of hate your life or hate your work. You don't ever want it to be like that. Because the truth is too, you also have to consider that whatever money you're bringing in from your clients, you don't get to pocket it all. You have fees, expenses, and you have taxes. And that's a huge hit for a lot of us entrepreneurs. So you want to make sure that you can also pay all of the fees for collecting their payments, the credit card fees, all of the things that come with running a business, and the overhead, as well as the tax man, which comes and pulls a big amount. So you want your bottom line to be something where, again, you're not struggling to exist in having a business, but also feel really good about the price that you're giving your clients. So again, That's a very personal choice. But once you land on it, you can keep it forever, or you can always change it when it stops feeling aligned. So as of right now, I don't really have plans on changing any of my pricing because I feel like I give a lot of value for a steal of a price. And I feel like I love that I do that. I don't ever lay my head down at night and feel guilty for what my clients are paying, because I'm like, they get so much of my time, attention, and I feel good giving them that time and attention for the money that they are paying. And then I just have boundaries, right? If someone is actively working with me and, has paid one of the larger ticket things, I'm a little bit faster of how quickly I get back to them. And if I'm willing to answer my text messages outside of, maybe my work hours or business hours, as opposed to, if someone is maybe in the lifetime access program, I ask that they email me and I'll get back to them as soon as possible, but they don't maybe have the same exact constant contact as some of my other clients that are in a little bit of a higher ticket bracket. So that's my answer. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this tell all, the entrepreneurial side, answering all of your questions. I'll have to do this again one day, but maybe in a different way. Maybe personal questions, fun questions, random questions. I don't know. You can always give me feedback, but I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to see you next week. Bye. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. If you'd like to connect on social media, you can find me on both Instagram and Facebook at Macie Renee Coaching. And if you want to stay up to date on all of my offers, announcements, and inspirational emails, you can join my email list at macierenee.com. In addition, if there's a way that I can further support you in your coaching journey, you can schedule a free 60-minute consult at macierenee.com anytime you want, so we can discuss the best options for you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.